I'm Ollie Studdert, I'm a solicitor at Maxwell Gillett Solicitors, and I'm involved in the Every Child in Need campaign. I'm going to give an example of one of the cases that I'm working on, which gives an example of the kind of young person that might be affected by the government's proposals. Dee came to me as a 16-year-old who was living in one of the trial authorities. She had come down from Scotland to live with her father, who she'd never met after her relationship with her mother broke down. She was referred to social services after a suicide attempt, after the relationship with her father also broke down, and social services placed her in accommodation. However, they did so without having carried out any assessment and without having decided whether or not they were going to provide her with any type of support whatsoever. So this 16-year-old was left in a hostel with 40 and 50-year-old men, an entirely inappropriate environment for such a young person with a very, very vulnerable background. She ended up having to make a complaint, a very serious complaint, about one of the male residents who was removed from the accommodation, and she was then told that she could in fact seek legal advice to get some further support from social services. No assessment whatsoever had been undertaken by social services, and she wasn't being provided with any support at all. Further to our becoming involved, we were able to inform social services of their legal duties towards her and ensure that they carried out an assessment of her needs. She was moved from the very inappropriate accommodation to a suitable placement almost immediately, with support, including financial support and educational support, to enable her to make a real go of things. She's now doing extremely well as a result of a lawful assessment having been undertaken, but without this assessment she would still have been in the inappropriate accommodation. Because we were able to pinpoint the 7-day time frame within which the local authority had to undertake the assessment, we were able to keep enough pressure on them to force them to do so. If these timeframes are removed, then Dee would have been in an extremely difficult position and wouldn't have been able to take things forward. She'd have probably had to wait further while the local authority decided whether or not they were going to undertake an assessment. This may have ultimately been carried out, but how long would she have had to stay in this inappropriate accommodation, and what further problems would she have encountered?